We are not asking you to get paid what the men get paid. We're asking you to get paid the same percentage of revenue shared.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Got it. So that's a huge misconception.
That's a huge misconception.
Got it. Okay,
Yeah, because every video is like, oh, this person gets paid this person gets paid that, right?
So I want to be really clear about that. Like, I don't think I should get paid the same as LeBron.
Right.
But the percentage of revenue, like, for example, they sell my jersey in Mandalay Bay, I don't get a dime.
You don't get any money from jersey sales?
That's crazy.
In the NBA, they have percentages of revenue shared for the players, right? So jersey sales, obviously their TV contracts. You see these every year, these contracts get bigger and bigger and bigger, right?
Yeah, massive.
But that's because their CBA, it negotiates where if the owners are making certain types of money, they get that as well.
Got it.
In the WNBA, that's not the case.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a more rational request, at least. The only problem is the WNBA, until Caitlin Clark, had no revenue.
The WNBA has found itself in the eye of a storm, with rising tensions swirling around its handling of breakout sensation Caitlin Clark. Her jaw-dropping range and ice-in-her-veins performances haven't just lit up the scoreboard. They've electrified the league. Clark isn't merely a rising star. She's the gravitational force pulling national attention toward women's basketball. With data revealing she's responsible for nearly 1/3 of all ticket sales this season, one thing's clear. Caitlin Clark is the show.
This has a real problem in the United States. They've spent the last several decades talking about how racism is an endemic problem in American life. And there's a problem with that problem, which is there's not enough racism for them. They require instances of racism in order to support the idea that every maldistribution of outcome is, in fact, rooted in racism and white supremacy. And so they're constantly looking for their latest racial conflagration. It has to be a white on black racial conflagration, obviously, because white supremacy and white privilege and all the rest. The latest iteration of this comes courtesy of the WNBA. So it is amazing to be discussing the WNBA, like seriously at the top of a show, because let's face it, the last time anyone cared about the WNBA was when Brittany Griner, who will arise in a moment.
Caitlin Clark's impact stretches far beyond the box score. Every time she steps on the court, TV ratings soar, sending a shockwave of visibility that uplifts the entire WNBA. Her transition from college icon to professional powerhouse has not only been seamless, it's reignited mainstream interest in women's basketball after years in the shadows. But with the spotlight comes scrutiny. Clark has become a flashpoint in deeper conversations about race and recognition in the sport. Some critics argue that her meteoric rise is fueled, in part, by factors beyond pure basketball talent. These tensions have stirred discomfort across the league, particularly among veterans who've battled for years without the same level of acclaim.
Was actually freed from captivity in Russia after having brought marijuana product into Russia, genius move, and then being essentially kidnapped by the Russian government, and then we had to trade an arms dealer for her. I will say that based on some of her late comments, I'm not sure that we got the better end of that particular deal. In any case, the WNBA entered into an investigation over the course of the past couple of weeks because there were allegations that fans were being racist during a game between the Chicago Sky and the Indiana Fever. And yes, I should get points for knowing the names of both of those teams.
The conversation reached a boiling point when Clark addressed the privileged debate head-on during media interviews. Her responses reflected an awareness of the WNBA's complex racial history, while firmly asserting that her rise is rooted in years of relentless effort and dedication. But instead of cooling tensions, her comments added fuel to the fire. Rather than silencing critics, they deepened the discourse around identity, visibility, and equity in the league. Clark openly praised WNBA legends, especially Maya Moore, and voiced deep respect for the Black athletes whose legacies built the foundation of women's professional basketball. While she's approached these delicate conversations with a blend of confidence and humility, the reaction has been anything but uniform, drawing both praise and pushback from across the sports world.
The Indiana Fever is, of course, the team of Caitlin Clark, who's the only player in the WNBA who seems to matter right now. And the Chicago Sky are the team of Angel Reese, who is sort of her arch nemesis and has been since her college days. So the allegations arose after there was a foul by Caitlin Clark on Angel Reese. It was called a flagrant. If you watch the video, it's pretty clearly not a flagrant foul, just by any basketball standard. Basically, Angel Reese goes up for a layup, and Caitlin Clark doesn't clothesline or anything, kind of grabs her, and Angel Reese falls over. And there were allegations that people in the stands were then being racist. So the league immediately launched an investigation into these alleged racist comments.
The simmering rivalry between Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese has become a lightning rod for larger conversations around competition, recognition, and equity in the WNBA. What began as a fierce collegiate showdown has evolved into a professional clash layered with media dynamics and fan narratives. Reese, along with other players, has voiced frustration over the outsized spotlight on Clark, raising important questions about who gets celebrated and why. Their on-court battles have become must-watch moments, but the tension off the court speaks to deeper, unresolved issues about visibility and value in women's sports. While headlines continue to swirl, the coverage often veers away from their athletic excellence, instead amplifying the drama that surrounds them.
WNBA had responded with a statement confirming the investigation. Quote, the WNBA strongly condemns racism, hate, and discrimination in all forms. They have no place in our league or in society. We are aware of the allegations and are looking into the matter. Now, there was no evidence at the time that any of this was true. And given the fact that cell phones are ubiquitous and that everybody now tapes everybody else saying anything racist, the chances that this actually happened in real life were extremely, extremely low, especially at like a WNBA game. Hey, who are the white supremacists showing up at a WNBA game? Seriously. The white privilege folks who are like, you know what? We don't like black people and we're super white nationalists, so we're going to a WNBA game.
An analysis of attendance and TV ratings reveals a striking pattern. Public interest surges when Caitlin Clark is on the court and noticeably drops when she's not. This disparity has sparked growing discomfort among other players, many of whom feel their own talent and hard-earned contributions are being eclipsed. Tensions boiled over after a game between the Chicago Sky and Indiana Fever, when accusations of racist behavior by fans ignited a firestorm. The allegations spread rapidly across social media and sports outlets, fueling a wave of commentary on how Clark is treated, both by rival supporters and within the league at large. The incident deepened an already complex conversation about race, visibility, and respect in women's basketball.
What is the crossover between those two circles? There's like no crossover in that Venn diagram. It didn't matter. Caitlin Clark was then forced to go out there and make a statement. And every time Caitlin Clark makes one of these statements, blink if you need help, Caitlin. Here she was after the game saying that there's no place for racism in the game.
There's no place for that in our game. There's no place for that in society. And, certainly we want every person that comes into our arena, whether player, whether fan, to have a great experience. So I appreciate the league doing that. I appreciate, the Fever organization has been at the forefront of that since, really day one and what they're doing. So we'll, hopefully the investigation, we'll leave that up to them to find anything and take the proper action if so.
In response to the uproar, the WNBA launched a thorough investigation into the allegations, allocating significant resources to uncover any evidence of inappropriate fan conduct. Yet, despite the ubiquity of cameras and social media in today's arenas, no credible proof surfaced. The investigation ultimately found no substantiated instances of racist behavior directed at Clark during the disputed game. Still, the episode underscored a powerful truth. In the digital age, unverified claims can spread like wildfire. And even when disproven, they often leave behind a residue that shapes public perception long after the facts are known.
Well, I mean, she needed to say that, because if she hadn't said that, then you would have thought that the WNBA was just filled with deep and abiding racism, obviously. And of course, this is not the first time that Caitlin Clark has been forced to go to the camera and then speak the words, say the thing. So not all that long ago, 2024, December, she came out and she had to acknowledge her own white privilege. Now, can we be clear about this? If Caitlin Clark were not in the WNBA, we would not be talking about the WNBA. She is the only ticket draw in the WNBA. A large percentage of all tickets sold in the WNBA are so people can watch Caitlin Clark play basketball. No one cares about Angel Reese. She'd be drawing flies if she were playing not against Caitlin Clark on the court right now.
The stark contrast between the WNBA's exhaustive probe into unverified fan behavior and its muted response to documented player conduct has raised serious questions about the league's consistency and its commitment to addressing racial dynamics. Critics point to this imbalance as further proof of selective enforcement and implicit bias, especially when the controversies extend beyond words. Meanwhile, Clark has endured unusually aggressive physical play on the court. Highlight reels circulating online reveal a pattern of hard fouls and borderline hits targeting her specifically, sparking growing concern over player safety and the integrity of competition. Some of these plays have led to injuries that sidelined Clark mid-game, fueling fan outrage and calls for stronger protections for high-profile athletes. For many observers, this repeated physical targeting isn't just about defense. It reflects deeper resentment toward Clark's meteoric rise and outsized media spotlight.
That Caitlin Clark is bringing notoriety to their sport. Their idea is, why didn't people watch the WNBA before? The answer is because Caitlin Clark is uniquely talented and, yes, uniquely appealing. And is some of that based on race? Well, I mean, there are other white players in the WNBA who don't have remotely this kind of following. So I really don't think that that's the reason. She was a wildly popular player when she was in college. Was that also based on her race or based on the fact that she was hitting threes like an NBA player? Well, back in December,
the WNBA's response to mounting safety concerns has faced backlash, with critics calling it insufficient, and some fans even threatening boycotts if stronger protections aren't implemented. The league now finds itself caught in a delicate balancing act, preserving the intensity of competition while ensuring the safety of its biggest stars. Clark-related controversies have drawn fire from all sides. Some accuse the league of failing to shield its most valuable asset, while others argue that the overwhelming focus on one player risks diminishing the team-first ethos of the sport. Analysts like Shapiro have warned that the league's current approach could alienate the very audiences Clark helped attract. While her games drive massive ratings and attendance, data suggests her star power hasn't yet translated into sustained, league-wide momentum, raising questions about how long the WNBA can ride the wave without deeper structural change.
she actually had to issue a statement in which she suggested that there's an element of white privilege in her stardom. Quote, "I feel like I've earned every single thing that's happened to me over the course of my career, but I also grew up a fan of this league from a very young age. My favorite player was Maya Moore. I knew what this league was about." She said, like I said, the WNBA has only been around 25 plus years. Only, by the way. And they've never earned a profit until like this very moment, maybe. I know there's been so many amazing black women that have been in this league, and continuing to uplift them, I think, is very important. That's something I'm aware of, is what she told Time magazine.
The WNBA now stands at a crossroads, faced with the challenge of balancing the magnetic star power of Caitlin Clark with the need to promote and uplift the league as a whole. Lessons from other professional sports show that embracing and protecting marquee players often fuels broader popularity and financial growth. But Clark's story is about more than just one athlete. It's a reflection of the deeper struggle women's professional sports face in gaining mainstream acceptance and sustainable success. Her unique ability to draw in casual fans highlights immense growth potential for women's basketball. Yet the ongoing controversies risk derailing that momentum by shifting the narrative away from pure athletic achievement toward divisive social and political debates. The WNBA's true test lies in leveraging Clark's star appeal while fostering unity and respect among all players and stakeholders.
To talk about it because we saw this tweet, and this is a tweet from someone who was courtside, by the way. And let's just say this right now. What we know as facts. The investigation was about fans in the vicinity of the court. So courtside fans. Fans around the court. It is not about what happened in section 187. It is not about one fan saying something in section 187 because there's no way to prove or deny that. To prove or disprove that. There is no way to prove or disprove any of that. Everything is he said, she said. And to be honest, there's 18,000 people. Just like in anything in life, there are going to be bad. If you have 18,000 of people of anybody of any kind in one building, there's bound to be a few bad eggs, no matter what it is. No matter what it is in life. So yes, there could have been something in section 145 or 245 in the very corner where someone says something to someone beside them. But both teams' coaches confirmed they heard nothing. Both teams' coaches confirmed nothing was heard in the game.
How the WNBA navigates these controversies will shape its future for years to come. Successfully managing the current tensions could lay the groundwork for lasting growth, while ongoing struggles risk squandering a rare opportunity to elevate the league. Financial data makes one thing clear. Caitlin Clark generates more revenue than any other player in the WNBA today. From sponsorship deals and TV contracts to merchandise sales, her star power drives significant economic benefits. Yet, these financial incentives must be carefully weighed against the league's need to maintain competitive fairness and protect player morale across the board.
Specified in the vicinity of the court. So you would assume courtside or near courtside. We've investigated a report of racist fan behavior in the vicinity of the court. In the vicinity of the court. They're trying to tell someone who was courtside they didn't hear it. And the person who made the allegation that went viral was not at the game. Was almost certainly not at the game. And if they were at the game, the photos they were using to prove they were at the game was not of a commercially available ticket. I've seen that person post a photo of the game. Of them saying, this is where I sat at the game. Do you want to know what they found? They found a media picture. They put a picture up and they said, I was in this section. And then somebody literally that was in the section they said that they were in, they refused to say what section they were in. They just said 200 plus. Person who was in the sections 200, it was like, that's clearly not section 200 because I sat in first row of section 210 or something. And you could see you're above the Jumbotron at 200 and this person was below the Jumbotron. So they were in a completely different section. They was in a completely different section.